As requested, the Nissan R390 GT1 for $19.98 by AUTOart. The Nissan R390 GT1 campaigned at 24 Hours Le Mans in 1997 and 1998. In the first year, 3 cars with now a well-recognized red and black color scheme entered. One of them took pole position during qualifying. By the end of the 24-hour race, the number 23 car finished in second place in its class and 4th overall. The following year, the cars were upgraded per the rules, having a longer tail, a new diffuser, and a revised rear wing. Just a fun fact, the Nissan R390 GT1 used the same cockpit, tub, and entire upper body structure, both roof and greenhouse, of the Jaguar XJR15. The chassis, however, was lower, wider, and slightly shorter. The suspension was also unique to the R390, being equipped with both front and rear wishbones. This is the R390 GT1 Le Mans race car by Nissan, reproduced by AUTOart. This is considered a plain body version of the race car. Plain body being, or body in white as some call it, is the race car prior to any graphics or livery and sponsorship. This is a full opening metal die-cast model, believe it or not. And this was somewhat of a reissue for AUTOart. The original was the 1997 version, which was the short tail. This is the long tail 1998 version. The reason why I got this in the plain body is sometimes with specific cars in my collection, the livery kind of detracts from the overall aesthetic of the car, the design. And so I typically would get a plain body version so I could appreciate so much more of the body lines of the model. So that's the only reason. As I mentioned, this is a fully opening die-cast metal model, so there's a ton to dig into on this. So let's just start. The shape of the model is perfect as far as looking as close as to real thing as possible. The wheel detail is fantastic. One thing that I really appreciate in AUTOart, especially with this particular model, has it correct. You can see like one side the center lug is blue and the other side is red. That is correct and specific to the regulations of Le Mans racing cars, as well as some other endurance racing series. The wheel detail is fantastic. The tires are shaped differently, sized differently rather, which is absolutely correct. They fill in the wheel wells exactly how the real thing would. So that is very, very well done. Of course, the disc behind the spokes of the rim is very good. I believe that it's supposed to be a carbon ceramic type disc, as well as the brakes with the printing on it is very well done and very clear and concise. The exhaust here is a true photo etched metal piece, and it looks fantastic. These dots that you see here, these are very nice touches in that they are metallic. So instead of just applying paint, they actually are basically, they're raised, so there's a texture to that. So when I say paint, lesser models would just put paint dots there in replacement of these. I'm assuming those are attachment bolts. So you can see that on both sides. Again, a model of this caliper is is going to have some level up detail to it. And there's a reason for that. And in my conclusion, I'll explain why. Just moving on to the front of the model. You can see the darkened headlights is accurate. Obviously the bulbs, again, at this level model are placed perfectly. There's no issues with that. So are the lower lights, or fog lights as some people like to call them. Very, very nice perforated grille. I like the fact that you can see some detail behind it, which is really nice. Moving on to the back of the model. Again, very well detailed. There's a perforated grille, which again, it can reveal some of the innards of this car, which is really nice. The tail lights are colored correctly. There's no off colors. They're lined perfectly. The Nissan or Nismo print is very clear and concise. The operation in opening this model is pretty straightforward, nothing too complicated. So we have the front portion that you slide off just like that. And one thing I like about this, and I'll point out to it even more so when we do the top view, so you have these nice vents there, and there are grills behind it. It's a very sturdy piece. It's nice and heavy because it is that zinc die cast. So, very well done. And in the back, it's as simple as lifting it and moving it forward. And there you are, fully opened. I can see, as you can see, there is a lot in the workings of this particular model. We will get a closer view at this, but I just wanted to preview the door cards. And you have this photo etched metal there, which is a hinge for the door, which is a very, very nice piece, which is right there. You have your door handle there. And all this is exactly the way it looks on the real thing. And that's what surprised me the most. I went back and I looked at images of the actual race car, and I could not believe how spot on AUTOart was in the details of this particular car. There really isn't that much missing. They even color-coded correctly the door handles, where you pull to close the door. One's red. That's absolutely correct. Fully detailed interior. The interior is black, but you can see that they use different colors and materials where appropriate instead of just simply blacking everything out. Little simple things like these tie downs right here for the roll bar and the electronics. Again, things that you wouldn't expect a model, not even from AUTOart, to be this well detailed. But as I said, there's a reason for that. Just moving on to the other side, so you can see the steering wheel and the gauges. It's all very nicely put together. You have your 3 canisters here for your fluids, your brake fluids. Let's take a closer look at the interior of this model. Taking a closer look at this engine, as you can see, there is tons of detail here. I mentioned that the cover itself had these vents on there, as you can see, and the holes that go all the way through. Well, that air goes into Here, there's your turbo right there. So it's an intake, basically. There's your radiator there as well. You have all your steel braided hoses, suspension work, transmission and differential. I think you get the point here. There is a ton of detail here. It's absolutely stunning. The reason why the bottom portion of this has this metal at the bottom, that acts as a heat shield for, again, the turbos. The turbos, as you may or may not know, get pretty hot. So that is accurate, and it is functional. Just moving on to the interior. As you can see, everything is laid out. You have all your switches on the dashboard. I really like that really good choice of green color to look like an LED screen. Looks very believable. It's a close look at that door detail I was referring to. It's Kevlar on the back of the seat. The entire seat's Kevlar, obviously. This is the front covering for it. Looks pretty darn accurate. The seatbelts, surprisingly, are plastic. I'm really surprised that the cloth material wasn't used for those. It doesn't detract too much from the model, but I'm just really surprised that was done. There's actually a pattern on the seatbelt that kind of mimics as if it was cloth, but it's acceptable. I think so. Here's your front suspension. Even has your canisters for the fluids. That'd be your brake fluids. Nice photo etched radiator up there. Just on to the other side. You have all your wiring, your electronics. Of course, the roll cage. I really like that you have these tie downs here. Again, these are just these little details that you wouldn't find in a less expensive model. You just wouldn't. So moving on to a top view, you have this large window that exposes a lot of the engine. It's beautifully laid carbon fiber wing. If you look closer at these vents, they have the grills right behind them. It's a really nice feature. They didn't have to do that, but they did. There's that motor again. And there you are. 1998 R390 GT1 by AUTOart. Now to my conclusions. Well, I hope you enjoyed that review of the R390 GT1 Nissan by AUTOart. As you can see, this was an extremely detailed model. And the reason why it is because this used to be under the category of what AUTOart would consider their signature series. If you're familiar with the signature series, it was a product line that was discontinued probably about 7 or 8 years ago. It was the very best of AUTOart. Not only did you get this finely detailed model, you also got a very specialized box. It was black with gold print on it. You got an instruction manual that was fully in color with several pages instead of the one black and white page that you get now. And you also got a certificate with a serial number that you could actually register under a registry for that particular car. So again, you're not getting all that good, cool stuff. You're just getting the car now, which I'm okay with because at least we get the car. But there was something special about getting that certificate. As far as values go, I'm going to give this a $2 signs. And the only reason why I'm giving it 2 instead of a 3, which would be the very top of the top, is yes, it is a very detailed model. But to be honest, the first rollout of these models, going back to the 1997 version, they sat around in the market for years. I mean, the prices didn't go up, they sat around for years. It wasn't until this 1998 version came out that they started to take off, and now they're hard to find and they're very pricey. The current ones, in other words, the 1998 version, the one that I showed you today, you can still find those at a reasonable price. They are starting to disappear. They are limited edition, even though nowhere on the box or inside does it specify that these are limited editions, but they are. What's even more limited is the full liveried version that they have as well. So as far as values go, that one is the one to get if you're into values again. I do want to thank my viewer for requesting to see this model, and I was glad I could do it for you. I also want to thank Lindification. He's another viewer. He was looking for, well, he wasn't looking for it, but he took my recommendation for the Motor Helix Nissan Z2, and he's very happy with it. You're welcome. And then Ladies Man 217, your video is coming up soon. I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. That is the only way that I know that you're enjoying these videos. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you next time.